It is 5:13 p.m. on Monday, September 26, 2022. This is a facilities committee meeting of the Ogdensburg Bridge and Port Authority, and I am calling the meeting to order. First item on our agenda is the Ogdensburg International Airport. Just an update on Contour Airlines operations.
Patty, will give an update on that.
To that.
We have received our first and our second bill, our July and August bill from Contour. It was a bit of a bumpy road getting started, but we've got all our ducks in a row. We've submitted both of them, and we're waiting on payment for the second one. We received payment when all the paperwork was finally in about 3 days. So it is a quick turnaround once you know the system that we have to go through to pay them.
Right. Good. Okay. Anything else on Contour?
Just want to bring you up to speed on that.
Okay.
How has the load factor been?
Load factor is creeping up, not as fast as I would like, but it is creeping up. We've had a glitch these last couple of days. We've had some delayed flights. We did have 2 diverted flights because of weather, but they seem to get things back on track pretty well. But the numbers are coming up, and everybody who flies with them seems to be very pleased.
Good.
It's good to hear. Yes. Okay. Next item under airport business is the Upstate Airport Economic Development and Revitalization Initiative.
Yeah, today we just a quick update on that, but that's the $18 million that we just grant that the Upstate revitalize Upstate airport terminals. We had a pre-planning meeting with our consultants, and we had our team along with the consultants here early this afternoon, and it looks like we're going to have a meeting with New York State DOT on Wednesday afternoon, and we'll be attending that in Albany. And we talked about a number of things. We did get a lot of feedback from the consultant. They've been through this process before. So they made us aware of and wanted to know things like the OBPA's real roles and responsibilities. We kind of assigned some of that. They talked about coordination with the New York State DOT. And we talked about things like MBE and WBE and how that will affect the project. That's minority and disadvantaged businesses.
Okay.
We did talk about a project labor agreement, and we had gone through that also, that process with the port expansion project, so we're familiar with it. But we just reached back and talked about that we've been through that, and we're gonna proceed with that. And we can't start anything until the grant has been approved. So a lot of this is just pre-planning things and things that we're looking at coming at us. So just to give you a kind of a rough idea, we expect to have a fully executed grant by the first week of November. This is going to be a turnaround really quickly, and then that's when the clock starts ticking. So, and with that, we figure maybe early bid packages for long lead time items will be in spring of 2023. There'll be a number of, it won't be just one bid package. There'll be a number of things that, you know, just to get started, for example, we may do excavation, foundation, and concrete work as a start while we're still finishing design on other things. So that's the nature of what this is going to be. This timeline is very precise, and we've got to be geared up for that. So that was kind of what the discussion was there. And with that, there was some discussion of, aside from our consultants, we may need a construction managing firm because of the nature of what we're doing here. And we haven't decided on that, but that was something that we talked about. And we did review kind of what the summary and funding would be for the project there, and where funds would come from. So we kind of got a rough idea on that. So that's kind of what we talked about. And like I said, we'll know more on Wednesday after our discussions with the DOT. Any questions?
No, I think it's really fantastic. I'm just still really pleased with the award, and I just think it's really fabulous for the North Country, for our local community, and for the whole region. You know, and I know it's a lot in a short period of time, but I feel really good about it.
The one thing to point out is the consultants kind of mentioned this, that it will be a good model for a small airport in that, you know, you have this facility that isn't used all the time like a large or a medium-sized hub would be, and you're trying to get more utilization out of that. So to combine that with community was, they really think that that's a pretty good model, and that's kind of one of our goals with the completion of the project.
Right. Absolutely. That's great. Thank you.
Any questions, Sam? Okay.
Okay, next item is Commerce Park Campus, the Child Care Initiative.
Just a quick update on that. I met with ESD and also with the ARC of Jefferson and St. Lawrence County. And we met through a video conference call, and just kind of backfilled more information for Empire State Development on what our plans were and who would be doing what. I know, you know, we talked that we can build and maintain the facility, but just to clarify the position that we're in agreement with ARC of Jefferson and St. Lawrence County that they would run it. They have a vast amount of knowledge and ability to operate something like that. So it was really good to get them together with ESD to understand how we were approaching that. And then also we met later on with the local people at Watertown, just discussing our grant application and kind of clarifying some things on that too.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now.
Okay.
When is that awarded? That this year or in the spring? The regional council grant?
I want to say what, October, end of October or November.
That's what I thought.
Sticks
Yeah.
in my head with that. I think last year was around November when a lot of those came out.
Okay, so if we proceed with the understanding that we could receive federal funding next year's federal budget and the grant from ESD or regional council, what are we looking at additional funding?
We would be probably 3/4 of the way there. Roughly 70 or 75% of the funding we need would be there. So we would be looking for, it's roughly, let's say 1.3 million. that we would-
1.3?
Yeah.
Okay.
With that.
That's about what I thought, 1.3. To actually complete the project, that's build the facility, put everything in that needs to be, so once we open the doors, it's ready to go.
Yeah, that would be equipment,
Right.
the things that are needed in that we have a set aside for equipment, other things there that were mentioned.
So we could be looking at, I don't know, maybe spring of 24?
I think later in the year of 24, I was kind of thinking, you know, it might line up with the school year. I don't know, you know, like
Right,
might
right.
be fall.
That would make sense.
I can't say for sure, but that would be in a perfect world with right now with that, you know, it may be where that additional funding just is slow to,
Right.
or us coming up with that be a big ask right now.
At least gives us some kind of idea of what we're looking at for funding and maybe a timetable, even though it's not in concrete, either one. But it gives us, like you say, Steve, we're 75% there in funding. That's further than what we were last year at this time. So it gives us a better idea of what we have to do between now and breaking ground. So I like the idea of maybe fall of 24.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
That's all I have for that.
It's good information. Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? Any other questions? No? Okay, next item on our agenda is the Ogdensburg Prescott International Bridge, the 2022 biennial inspection.
Well, I was hoping by now I'd have the executive summary from the firm that Parsons did it. I can tell you verbally, when we did an exit kind of interview of the condition on the bridge, everything was in very good shape. The Canadian side has some yellow flags that were additional, and that needs more attention. But as you know, the last 2 years have been spent on the American side, and that's in very good shape, especially after the project. So our concentration going forward with other projects will be to emphasize the Canadian approach, and then also with our maintenance crew to be doing a more emphasis on that, because it's not necessary to be on the US side now that everything's kind of been upgraded. Not everything, but quite a bit of it. So they were going to, what I've asked for an executive summary, I may have it even for the board meeting in first week of October, but I don't have it right now. But I would like them to do maybe a 10 or 15-minute presentation so you can ask questions that you may have, but I just wanted to give you an update on that. But yeah, we were well pleased with, and they spent a whole 2 weeks here. It was kind of, the weather was not that cooperative, but they got everything done in the 2-week time period that they had.
Steve, I'm sorry, I have a quick question. I know you've talked about this before and I should know it, but the Canadian side of the bridge, is that still our full responsibility, or that there's no sharing of costs at all?
No.
Okay.
We've been down that road a few times, and
Okay.
we have everything to the abutment on the Canadian side. Then from then on, they have the plaza, and that's their buildings. So they maintain, right, we go from the concrete abutment when you first drive on the bridge from Canada coming this way.
Okay.
We have from there, you know, the entire bridge.
Right. Okay. I thought at one point, maybe it just was part of a conversation. I thought maybe they shared expenses to a certain point, but no. Okay.
No.
Thanks.
No.
Steve, you mentioned yellow flags, no red flags?
No, not at all. We've tamed those so that, you know, it's every 2 years. So you hope that you've got eyes and boots on the ground out there doing the work. And so we were pleased with that, but it's the same issue with the floor beams that just, you know, they're getting old, and we're replacing them as we can, but it really needs the same thing that we did 2020 and 21 on the US side we need to do over there. And we do have some 13 million in funding that we're hoping will be added on to that. We have a large grant out there for that bridge, a federal bridge program there that we hope that we can use this funding and get quite a bit done there, but we'll wait and see. And if not, then we'll use that money hopefully on the Canadian side.
Given the fact that the bridge is over 60 years old and there's no red flags, that's speaks to how well you and staff here have taken care of the bridge.
Yeah,
So-
well, we, and then the amount of money we've invested, we're going on, I think it's 43, 44 million over, well, 13 years.
Uh-huh.
And New York State's invested in us, and we're more than thankful for that. And then we got to keep going. That's kind of how we're looking at it.
Right.
And then the money that they have put in has raised the overall condition of the bridge. So you're always going, every time you add something to that, it improves the whole condition rating of the bridge.
Good.
Okay, thanks. Next is the border station pavement evaluation review.
Okay, we were asked, GSA, let's see, the border station was done in 2003, 2004, and that whole area has not had any major paving done in its time. There's cracks out there, asphalt's deteriorating, and it's becoming an issue. And it's part of our responsibility. We have a General Service Administration contract with the federal government. They lease the building from us, and we are to maintain that building, and we're supposed to maintain the grounds too. So we've been asked, what are our plans to take care of the asphalt, and what we needed to know. I needed to know exactly where we were with that. So the board approved an agreement for Tisdale Associates to do a pavement evaluation. And with that, they went through the whole area and looked at different areas. And they've come up with, in their summary letter, they've come up with 3 areas, 1, 2, and 3, and there's associated drawings there that you'll see. They're labeled. And for just resurfacing, area 1, it's pavement resurface, and that's basically you put down a binder, and they've given, in the drawings, they show the binder's depth, but it's basically a typical pavement resurfacing where you get, I don't know what I think they go 2.5 or 3 inch in a binder, and then you do a 1.5 or 2 inch top, but you might have milled the area. You see millings all the time now.
Right.
So it really, what happens is if you don't, you start building up the pavement and you start getting things, you have to raise and take care of like manholes and things like that. So milling's been a big part of that. So area 1 is kind of basic paving, and you see in that there's 208,000 square feet at a unit cost of $3, and that comes to an amount of roughly $625,000. Area 2 is a more, it's for heavily traveled areas, like off the bridge. When you come off the bridge there's a kind of a load factor from trucks when they come off there, and that deteriorates quicker than other areas. So there's roughly 11,000 there that of square footage that needs a heavier duty replacement, and they're all, you can see they're labeled. Like you say, area 2 there, you see the hatch thing right off of the bridge, and then you see an area, well, it's right when you come out of the Bacchus building in the parking lot there, you'll see that number 2 is right there. And then it's just areas where there's a lot of turning and truck traffic. The large cost of is the areas where they suggest concrete pavement. And when we put in the Bacchus building, originally it was just all asphalt going to the Bacchus building, and we said that it'll get rutted from the trucks, and we went with concrete right down to and that's held out really well. Concrete holds out well. So when you come out of the Bacchus, it snakes around in that area, and all that truck friction and everything really tears up it's been a real problem area for us, and it's the area that's deteriorated the most, along with the number 1 and number 5 lanes of traffic. And those are the ones that are used the most. They're rutted. So what they've called for is, and you can see in here, they want, it'll be new concrete pavement. And that, of course, you can, in lieu of that, you could say, well, let's mill it and make it all heavy duty asphalt and kick the can down the road. I mean, it would hold up for 10 years. But, you know, if you looked back now, if we had done concrete back then, you wouldn't be talking about those areas. You'd just be talking about regular pavement with that. Part of our GSA agreement is that we're to maintain that, and GSA, part of the lease payment, pays us money to maintain that. We do not have a lot of reserves in that account right now, but we're still obligated to take care of that. So I guess what I'm asking is, and we can do it in phases, but we may have to phase it according to what we can afford. That, you know, I'm sure up there, they would like to see it all done at once, but it's just when you're looking at probably close to $2 million. And then, you know, they're all petroleum-based products in that, and, you know, who knows what they'll be next spring.
I was just going to ask that if we did it in phases, is there any way to lock in the prices?
Not really, no.
That's wishful thinking.
I know.
No,
Not
not if
maybe.
we were a large customer and we were going to do it all 1 year. Probably you might be able to get something on a bid price. But even state contract bid prices go up in there because they've got to have something in there to cover transportation and fuel costs and everything, an escalator in there. So, so really, I'm bringing this. We haven't really made any decisions, but I thought for the facilities committee, it's your first introduction into, you know, these are things that need to be done up there. I've known it for a while. Other things have taken priority, but it's catching up with us.
Did Tisdale give, or do you know, does anyone know what the priority would be? Like, would you say, okay, we really should take care of the concrete first, that's first and foremost, or is it the area right off the bridge that's pretty torn up? Or do you have in mind?
I would say maybe not all of area 1 there, but I would say 1 and 2 definitely. So that one's 92,000, the other one's 625. So you'd be looking probably at $750,000 to do those first ones, and then you know, if it just the amount in the concrete, you might have to divide that up in it, you know, in different areas there, but you'll phase it. It's just that's the large part of that whole project.
Mm-hmm. Right,
but
there's
but
over,
it's the right way to go about it.
yeah. Like this building, what's it called, the Vacus?
Yeah.
There's a lot of concrete
Yeah,
over there.
yeah, that whole area, but
Yeah.
that's the area that just gets scrubbed
Right.
from the tires. It's just not like a long. Originally, when the building was built, the trucks would come out of there and just go right to our toll booth. But they didn't want someone to have a free shot to go straight out if they were being inspected. So, and then if you have to turn a truck around, the truck can go back up into the parking area.
Okay.
So it's a valid point, but when we first designed it, it was just going to be a ramp right to the toll booth. But the point they had was if somebody didn't pass inspection, they'd have to, it was just so they did this and this. And at the time, you know, it's held up decently, I'd say, for 12 to 15 years, but just lately we've been patching, and it really needs to be redone. You could mill it and then just resurface it and it'll be good. But, you know, long after I'm gone, certain people say, well, we should have done conquering.
Right.
Right, guys?
Yeah, right. The young guys here. Good at Patty. What's the budget for that item looking like, Patty?
Oh, sometime after I retire. No, we'll have to start putting it anyway.
Right. Yeah.
To answer your question, I think we would really do the fine points, get with actually Customs and Border Protection up there, be personnel up there and ask them what would they, I know what they'd like to see, and I agree with them, that the lanes need to be redone there. They've rutted up and there's potholes there that, and then kind of go in priority downward as to, you know, what can we do, and kind of at least for 1 year, get it in decent shape, and then depending on financing and stuff, we'd see. But I could see it as a 2-year project.
Okay. And this will be done by like a local company? Do you just put this out for
Yeah,
bid locally?
Yeah, there's plenty of paving companies out there. It would all be posted rate. It would be,
Okay.
and it would have to, it would be our, you know, it wouldn't be anything, if it was our money, it would just be our project.
Okay. And what's our timeline? What are we looking like ASAP? Talk to the, people- are we
Yeah, I
looking
mean,
at,
this
like-
fall, I could get their take
Okay.
on that, because this is just
right.
the way they look at it. I'm sure when they went up, they had an idea of what they want first too, but
Okay. But I mean, are we looking at the spring?
yeah, we
Okay.
probably when weather breaks, probably might be May or June, but the idea, sometimes you get better bid prices when you go out in like early winter or
Okay.
late winter, you know. I know December is always a good, because people are finishing up and they want to lock in something for the coming season.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. I just wasn't sure if it was pressing, if it's like we really need to get this going ASAP, but we've got a little bit of time,
Yeah, and
a few months
you
anyway.
saw what happened this year with manpower and companies and things. You could conceivably, say you waited till June, you might have limited people bidding, and they may say, well, I can't, you know. I mean, we tell them what our schedule was, but that may preclude other people from bidding. They say, I got too much work, I don't have the manpower,
Right.
or whatever. So probably the sooner you could put out a bid package for that and commit to it. But, you know, we're in tough financial times right now too. We'll see with the bridge opening, and we'll see what that comes back to, our percentage of our traffic. That'll
Right.
be probably November 1st. Will give you a really good idea of how we're headed.
Right.
But,
Right.
you know,
Okay.
anecdotally, you kind of see more traffic, but, you know,
Yeah.
until I see the
We need the
numbers at the end of the
numbers,
month, yeah.
Okay.
So would you agree with that kind of strategy then? Because that's kind of what I was asking for.
Yes. Prioritize and go in phases.
Yeah, and then also so that the other, so when we do talk about this at a little bit, we're not looking to approve everything, but we want to let the rest of the board know kind of what's coming up. This would be discussed pretty much also with our budget discussion too. So,
Right. Yeah. I appreciate this. These are great drawings too.
yeah,
It's really
you did a very good
great.
job on it.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
it's a good roadmap to go forward with. And then I've held out from giving this GSA until I talk to you. So I called them and just said, look, I'm not holding back on them. They wanted it kind of in the middle of September, but I said, I don't want to make any commitments to you guys without talking to the board.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. Do you have any more questions or
No, I mean,
good information?
we all understand it needs to be done. It's just a matter of coming up with finances to do it. And, you know, doing it in phases, obviously, and get it done as soon as we can, because it's good for good for the authority, it's good for the border station and those that travel across the bridge. We'll just get it done as soon as we can.
Okay, and then when it comes to the concrete part of it, we'll think long and hard about it. There is another option, a less expensive option, but it's probably a false economy in that,
Okay.
you know, you're gonna, you'll pay later,
Right.
right? So,
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's good. It's good to be having the conversations now. So I appreciate the information. Sure. Thank you. Okay. Is there a need for executive session?
yes, there is.
We move into executive session for the purpose of matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation. In this case, it's a corporation. I
Correct.
believe. Okay. So moved.
And there won't be any action
You
on this.
don't anticipate any business to be taken afterwards?
No. Is anybody online?
Just, Andy Gardner.
I don't know if he has any.
That's fine.
All right, I'll second.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. Just a quick question. When you talked about the airport grant, what did you mean by a fully executed grant? When you said
Well,
we expect to have a fully executed grant by the first week of November.
Yeah, well, in the meantime, we go back and forth on what we say we will do and what New York State expects from us. And when we agree on all the parts of the grant agreement,
You're breaking up really bad, Steve. I can't understand you.
we're breaking up real bad.
It's probably the connection on my end. How about I'll give you a call tomorrow. Is that okay?
Sure. I mean, you sound better now. Am I still breaking up?
Yeah, you're steady now. I can hear you just fine now.
Okay. Well, anyway, when we agree with New York State on everything that's in the grant agreement.
There you go again. I can't understand you at all.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll call you tomorrow. Is that okay?
All right. Okay,
Appreciate
Andy,
it.
sorry about that.
Thank you. No worries. Stuff happens. Y'all have a good night.
You too.
Okay,
Bye, Andy.
bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Okay, we good?
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. A little out of order. Okay.
Should be ready for no business, right? That's what we said.
Did you say 6:23?
Yeah, 6:24.
We're back on camera.
We are? Okay, it is 6:24.
It's 24. Yes, 24.
Okay, it is 6:24. We are coming out of executive session. Do we have any items that we'll be taking action on?
No, Madam Chairman.
Okay, may I have a motion to adjourn our meeting, please?
So moved.
Second? I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.